So we are pleased to welcome Regina. Regina is the Open Education Resources and Student Success Librarian at Michigan State University. She is actively involved in the open education community and has done numerous national presentations, webinars, and workshops on OER, open education practices, and women of color in OER. This is quite interesting. Regina currently serves in the Open Education Conference Steering Committee, Open Education Strategic Planning Committee, SPARK Open Education Advisory Group, and a faculty for the Association of American Colleges and Universities, Institute for Open Education Resources. My God, she is everywhere. Previously, she was a member of the SPARK Steering Committee and the Community College Consortium for Open Education Resources, where she served as a VP for Professional Development for 3 years. Regina also provides leadership to the statewide Michigan OER network, a community of practice, and a coalition of OER and advocates across Michigan. She is also a recipient of OER Research Group Fellowship and a Global OER Graduate Network member. Regina is currently pursuing a PhD in Higher Education Administration at Michigan State University. I welcome Regina to present and her talk on From Vision to Action, Fostering Engagement and Collaboration in Building an OER Program. Over to you, Regina.
Thank you. Thank you, Noor. And thank you to all of you who are here in this session. I'm really very excited to be with you today. It's my first time to attend AMICAL, and really happy that my first time is an invited talk to you all. So let me just share my screen. Okay, we'll have a bit of a lag here. And I am not going to ask you if you can see it because I'm confident that you are seeing it. So let's see. Okay, great. So let's see. Okay. So I have two screens actually that I'm looking at. So this is my first screen. I'm looking at all of you, and I'll have a side glance here for the other screen that I have for my notes as well. So this is the view from where I am now. So I am sitting here beside my window. And that is my view. I am here in Michigan. It's actually a small university town, 5 miles of East Lansing, which is the campus where Michigan State University is. And yeah, Michigan in the summer is really my favorite time of the year. As you know, we have winter for like 7 months, I feel. And, living here for the past 17 years or 18 years, I'm still not used to the brutal winters here in Michigan. So before I start, I would like to express my gratitude to every one of you who are here in this virtual room, and really most especially to Maha, who invited me to be one of your speakers in this conference. Really glad to be here. And as I said, this is my first time to be attending AMICAL, and I am really grateful for your trust in me, and really want to congratulate and thank the conference planning team and conference organizers. So I know that putting and mounting a virtual conference is not easy. As someone who also do that, like mounting a virtual conference, I know the work involved. So really want to thank you all for putting this great 4 days of programming. So yeah, so this picture, this is the last time I I attended a face-to-face conference. So that one was back in November 2019 for the Open Education Global. So that one was actually in Milan. And as you know, things happened, right? So the whole of 2020, we had that pandemic, which, I'm still working from home. So I've been at MSU for close to 2 years, but I've only worked on campus for 8 months, and the rest I've been working from home because we are not yet open the campus. Okay, so just want to situate what I am going to be talking about today. So I do some introduction. I know Noor already introduced me to you, but I still would want to introduce myself further, because I think this will set the stage for what I want to talk about in this session workshop. So, and then we'll do some goal setting. We talk about strategic planning and how we align our OER initiatives to the bigger goal of the institution. Then we'll have breakout room discussions and report back, not all, of course, because we don't have that time. So we'll have plenty of time to discuss and talk about, planning an OER initiative, because I really want to learn from you. I want to learn what you are doing in your institutions more than what I can impart to you today. So, and then I'm going to talk about librarians as connectors. So I know there's a lot of librarians here in the audience, instructional designers, maybe some administrators too, but really want to talk about how we can facilitate that connection to our faculty and our students. And interspersed in that are discussions about the MSU, the Michigan State University OER program as exemplar. And I want to talk to you about our open textbook publishing and open pedagogy learning community, which really I'm proud that I was able to do in the online environment for the last academic year. And then we're also going to hear about our student voices. What are students? How are we working with students? And what our students are saying about this initiative? And then Q&A. So feel free to put in your questions in the chat. And I know Alex can clue me in if there's any questions that I need to answer. So feel free to do that in the chat as well. Okay, so this is my story in one slide. So I am a first generation immigrant. I came here to the US to work. So I used to work in a library software company back in the Bay Area. So that was how I came here to the US. But I was born and raised in the Philippines. Though I am an American now, I still consider myself like my heart, my home is in the Philippines. English is my second language. So my first language is Filipino or Tagalog. We are a multicultural family. So I am married to a Chinese, and there's 5 languages that spoken at home in various levels of fluency. So I have 2 kids in their teens. And aside from being a full-time librarian, I am also a PhD student in higher education at MSU. So it's tough. It really is hard to be doing that, doing full-time work, which is really very busy in and of itself, and also doing my PhD work. But I am so glad that after 8 semesters, I am almost there, almost done with my coursework, and really getting ready to work on my dissertation, which, by the way, if you want to know, concerns the lived experiences of women of color academic librarians in predominantly white institutions. So that really speaks to my positionality and the work that I do. So that's a bit of who I am and what brings me to this work. So what brings me to the open education work is really my 9 years that I have spent in a community college. So I really don't have any idea about, community colleges, the students and the faculty that, are working there until I worked in a community college. And really what really brought me to open education work are the students who I got the chance to work with. 80% of the students that we have are from low socioeconomic status. So affordability in terms of learning materials is really what drove me into working on open education and leading an OER. So that was really the impetus for me to do this kind of work. And also opportunity to lead, not just for myself, but also for my institution. So I was the sole non-white librarian in my institution. And over time, I got used to being the only one of that in my institution. And so really, I want to have that opportunity to have that leadership capacity in order to inspire other librarians like me to do the work. Okay, so this is what I do now at Michigan State. I lead the OER program, including the OER award program. And I also manage the open textbook publishing program. So we have a robust publishing program, which we host via our subscription to pressbooks.edu. And then, of course, we do that a lot, right? We do a lot of professional development for faculty, for staff, for librarians on various topics on that concerns open education. So I do that a lot. I do that year round. And last academic year, I facilitated the open education or open pedagogy learning community, which I will talk about later in my presentation. Oops. Okay. So Alex told me that you are very familiar with OER. So I'm really not going to delve deep into what OERs are because I know you know, but really this illustration, I use this a lot because it encapsulates what OERs are in one nifty illustration. So really, these are teaching and learning resources that have open licenses. That allows you to do the 5 R's that we have on the other half of the screen. And ultimately, really, it's to facilitate better learning for our students. So this one, I really like this statement from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation because the idea behind OER is simple but powerful. Really, it's equal access to our collective knowledge and provides many more people around the world with access to quality education. So I really like this statement that they have in their website. And also this one is from, I am blanking, Katie Kaiser-Lee. It's at the heart of open educational resources is really an idea that the world's knowledge is a public good and therefore should be available to all. So I really consider this work that we are doing as sort of like scattering seeds, right? On a fertile soil, hopefully, right? It's fertile, tending to it, and also hoping that it will take root and thrive in the environment that we put that seeds into. And for us librarians who lead this program, and for the instructional designers and other staff who help us, it really is especially true, because that is really what we do. We scatter the seeds and hope that those seeds will flourish in time. So when we talk about strategic planning for your OER initiative, I am really thinking about starting with a goal in mind. Right? So in any initiative that we have in our institution, we always have that, okay, what is the goal that what are the goals that we need to put forward in order to realize our vision? So this is how I will illustrate it. So for our MSU OER programs, our goals are very simple. So really is affordability, encourage and support our faculty in whatever ways they want to engage with OER, whether that's straight up adoption, adaptation, or creation. And of course, providing them with the technical support and the technological platform that they need to implement their projects. And at the end, this is really all about empowerment. Right? Empowerment for instructors so that they can engage in new pedagogical practices that utilizes and leverages the power of OER and open education. So that really is the goals of our program. So it also is very useful if we align it to the institutional and library strategic plan. So a lot of OER initiatives started with the library as the main lead, right? So, but it really is also important that we align it to the institutional strategic plan, mission, and values. So this one, this picture, I took this one, right? So I was like thinking, well, an umbrella is really not that useful if you do not open it, right? And so it's kind of like a metaphor also for open education, because what use are this if we do not allow people to openly access it? If we not put like licenses into these materials, it cannot be useful, right? So yeah, so I just thought that umbrella is really a good metaphor for what we do and what we enable. So just a good just a quick overview of what strategic plans are. I'm sure you know this, right? So, but I think it's worthwhile to just like put it out there. So for strategic plan, there's always a specific time frame that is associated with that. So normally it's like 3 to 5 years. I see some organizations that have like 10-year plan as well, but difference with policies is that policies are usually not time bound the way strategic plans are. And then you can also think about it as so this is hyperlink. So if you want to read more about that, we can talk about it also as a structured, organized thought process that identifies and considers potential threats, disruptions, and opportunities. And it's also important that strategic plans are not a laundry list of important things. It really is an agreement about actions to take during a set period of time in order for us to reach our common goal. So this is how I, just take you through what we've done in my institution. So we have a new president. So newish, he came on board last year. He is actually an epidemiologist. So he is a medical doctor with extensive experience on infectious diseases. So yeah, and so when he came on board, that was our chance to reconfigure our strategic plan, create a new strategic plan. And so we had like, so that was like last year, we had a series of online discussions to within, that includes the broader campus community in order to tease out what are our values. And this is just like a summary of what those different forums have digested, came up with. So these are the value statements that have come out of those discussions. And then, so within those values, the arrows here point to where open education and OER can be folded in. So social justice, of course, diversity, inclusion, and access, innovation, and excellence. And to a certain extent, partnership might be too, because we do a lot of work involving the different stakeholders on campus. So from that value statement, we came up with value clusters. And I was really so happy because in those value clusters, if you look at the box here that says 3, equity, access, affordability, which is, the goals of OER came up in these final value clusters. And so I was really heartened to know that within the institution, there's already that buy-in regarding what we can do in terms of affordability, OER, and innovation that involves, the work that we do in open education. And this is, okay, so this is the one from the library. So we talk about the bigger institutional values, institutional goals. Now we zoom in with the library, because the library is leading the OER project at MSU. So really map it into the mission and vision of the library. Our strategic plan is also new. We just finished that at the end of 2019. So within the core values comes different action plans that would realize the goals of the library. And OER is under student development and support, because really at the heart of it, this initiative is really for our students. And I just want to highlight it here because it's explicit there. Prioritize creation and adoption of open and affordable course content to support student success. But, okay, you might think it's like, oh, this is not really this like straightforward thing. And I know that because when I was doing this, so I started doing OER work in 2014 at a community college. I just did this. I just like, like just throwing pasta in the wall and hoping things will stick, because I just want to try it. And what really is heartening was that a lot of our faculty who I work with at that time was like, yeah, we'll go along with you for the ride and see where it takes us. So what I'm saying is that it doesn't have to be that straightforward. You know, you don't need to know what you are doing in order to do an OER initiative, because at the end of it, it's really all about just like trying. You know, how do you know that it might work if you don't try, right? And I think that spirit of that willingness to fail, I think, is one of the things that we need to kind of like learn, especially for us in academia, right? We're so I mean, I'm not generalizing, but you know, sometimes the fear of failure is really real, because you know, we want to be able to do things this well, but we have to have that opportunity for us to fail, right? Give ourselves that grace, that the things that we might do might not stick or might not succeed, but the important thing is that we learn and move on, so that we can you know, think of better ways to do things. So yeah, so just to wrap things up about strategic planning, so it really has like 3 components. So objective is what you are trying to achieve. So for example, you can say 50% of faculty adopt or use OER in at least one of their classes. So that one is a measurable objective that you can have. And then your strategy advances your objective. So a strategy might be that we are going to provide faculty support through OER grants in order to help them. And then your action ensures implementation. So you might want to say, we are going to offer paid training opportunities for faculty interested in using OER. The most important thing is that you need to identify how your actions will ensure sustainability. Okay, I'm just gonna warn you, a train is coming by. My house is really near a train track. So if you hear some like train grumbling by, that is, the train is just passing by. So so now that you know, you've heard about like strategic planning, goal setting, alignment with the institutional mission and vision, I think it's maybe worthwhile for us to break out for room discussions, depending on how many. So we have 31 people in the room. We can have like 4 to 5 people in the breakout room, and we will be doing you know, an institutional scan. It's of course, it's not comprehensive. It's about 20 minutes or 19 minutes of breakout room discussion. And, you know, you can talk about how does the OER initiative relate or fit into the mission, vision, and overall strategic plan of your institution. If, you know, if you already have an OER initiative, how do you scale it to an institution of your size? And if your institution doesn't have an OER initiative, what would it take for you to, you know, start that? So I think also have that discussion about, you know, how is the awareness and knowledge of OER in your institution like? What resources are already available? And what kind of approach has worked best in the past in your institution? So like top-down approach, yes, you know, mandated OER, does that work? Or the bottom-up approach where it organically starts from faculty, librarians, and students. So let me see, there is a document that I want to share with you about that. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Alex, for putting in the questions in the chat. Yeah, and so, you know, that there's this document that I want to share with you, so you can take a look at that as you do your discussions in your breakout rooms. So we'll have about 20 minutes of time for discussions, and then we go back to the bigger room, and we won't have time to have all the groups report back, but just like, you know, some of the highlights. What are the salient things that have come out of your discussions? And then, yeah, and then we'll take a break.
So Maha was asking whether whether folks should write in the same document, or whether it would be more helpful to copy the document over. What do you suggest folks do?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Maha, and thank you, Alex. You can copy the document in, you know, your desktop or whatever, and you can write in there.
Yeah, so each group will be working on their own.
Yeah.
All right. Give me 1 sec. Let me. Recreate the rooms.
Alex, can we share screen in our breakouts?
Yes, you will be able to share your screen in your breakout rooms. I just sorted that out. Thanks for bringing it up.
And I'll stop by in the room. So I try to knock in your breakout rooms to see how the conversation is going. Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, Regina. I'll open the rooms. You'll end up in room 1. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
And we can sort of go from there. All right, great.
Thank you.
I just opened the room, so folks should be moved. Hi, Nina.
Questions? Okay. So hopefully the discussions in the breakout room was really very useful for you. I had the chance to go to each of the rooms and listen in to your discussion. Really is very interesting. And I realized that you are all from different institutions. You are in different stages. And so it is interesting how you utilize that worksheet to put, you know, the unique context of your institutions to bear. So we have about, so we're approaching the top of the hour. It's 8:58. So maybe we'll do about a 10-minute discussion about highlights of what you've talked about in the room, as well as things that you are concerned about. Yeah, we can open the floor to anyone who wants to share.
Regina, would it be helpful if we sort of try and do this room by room? I think there were 4 rooms.
4 rooms? Yeah. Okay, let's start with room 4.
So does someone from room 4 want to jump in and share some highlights from your session?
Can you give a spokesperson?
Yeah. I didn't realize we were group 4. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Hello.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that as well.
Yeah. Okay. So happy to say that we had, you know, a nice discussion in our group and shared the initiatives and everything that has been going on in terms of OERs. Most of us, we have been raising awareness in our institutions. OERs do not appear in our strategic plans necessarily of our institutions or of the libraries. Maybe more, you know, in a more advanced stage, I need to say, Nadine and AUC, they have done more towards this end. The rest of us, I think, reported that we are equipping ourselves. We are learning about OERs. We're trying to get the library communities, let's say, to be up to speed with developments, but also at the same time, trying to raise awareness within our community, offering workshops and events for faculty. And I hope this is a fair representation, but please jump in and say a few more things. Maybe Kara, Noor, Nadine.
Thank you, Evie. The only thing that I would like to share, yes, we did work on you know, MOOCs in collaboration with IDRAK, which is a platform in the Arab world. They create Arabic MOOCs for Arabs. And we also worked with the Rebus community to publish an open textbook in 2019. That was a very big project. So as amazing as all these things are, the question that I keep thinking about now is that with all of what's going on right now, with all of the more, I don't want to say pressing, but
Whoops,
You
Nadine.
muted yourself.
whoops, sorry about that. What I'm saying is that with a lot of strategic plans and directions of things that are quote unquote more pressing or more urgent, I'm finding that OERs are taking a little bit of a less priority. And this is something that I'm just, you know, opening up or want to maybe ask about and talk about, and how we can kind of frame it in a way that becomes, you know, more important and more higher up on the strategic plans. Thanks.
Regina, shall I sort of keep going and sort of invite people to from the other rooms? Do you want to comment on something?
Sorry, Alex. One last thing to say. That a lot of us have been putting together content on our websites, and this has been, we've been sharing content, and we consider these to be a kind of OER, let's say. Yeah, just last comment from me. Thank you.
Yeah, Nadine, to your question about how we can elevate it so that it gets priority in, you know, institutions. You know, I cannot speak to the applicability of this in your context, but you know, student voices are really very important in having this as a priority for an institution. So for example, when I was at a community college, all the forces converge to have OER be a priority. So we had like faculty support, we had student support. And at the time, I found a really good ally in terms of the decision maker. So I just, you know, talked to the provost. He was new and he wanted to have something, a project in the new strategic plan that would be a flagship for the institution. So I sold it as, you know, this can be a way where our institution can be a leader within the state, because no one was doing that yet at the time. That was 2014. And so the you know, you have to play to their competitiveness. And so like they want like, oh, I want to position this institution so that we are the first to do OER in whatever. So that also kind of like played into how it got prioritized by the institution. So yeah, so anyone else, we don't have to go through each of the rooms, but if you feel like you want to talk about what your group has talked about, raise some issues that we can all collaboratively think about. And I also have, you know, a few discussions about how we can leverage the consortium AMICAL consortium to do this together as a group, because you are strong. You know, you are a consortium of that make up how many institutions? 29. Am I right? Or 28?
28.
So yeah, so and you have that power to move things forward. So any one of you would like to kind of raise something that you've discussed in your group? Thank you, Evie. Thank you. It's morning and I have 2 cups of coffee. So I am really very energetic. So
Sorry.
So anyone from the other groups would like to share? Oh, I see Jeff. Jeff, I see your hand raised.
I think Ola was just about to talk, so I'll give her the mic first.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah. So in our group, we talked about mostly the challenges and some of the suggested action plans that we think we started doing few of them, but it happened we are from 4 different institutions and all of us don't have an OER yet. So that's why it's not there to reflect on what's going and what's not. So we talked about that. So to summarize, we talked about some of the challenges, which on top of them are the financial burdens, to incentivize faculty members to work on OER, which need a lot of time and commitment. We also talked about dedicating staff to introduce, raise awareness, and market OER. So it's also a challenge. Most faculty members are already used to the textbooks and references that they have been using for so many years. So some of them are really resistant to change, to look at other references. Another challenge is that not anyone can do OERs or create OERs. So there are certain skills needed to create OER. You will need to train the personnel, which also is another challenge. We also noticed that even before OER, with the online environment, a lot of faculty are not feeling comfortable sharing some of their teaching material. So how come they would be able to share OERs? Another challenge is the non-familiarity with the Creative Commons license, and its difference from one country to another. Also, we talked about the most important one, which is convincing and gaining support from the administration and the institution, because we all agreed that it has to come from the top down. So it has to start at the administration level, then dean, then chair, then the faculty and the library. So even if you feel you want to support it, if it doesn't come from top, you will not be able to secure enough resources to do that. So the library itself cannot do that, neither in terms of cost, staff, IT, time, resources, and everything. And definitely the problem is there are no set policies that OER is a part of the institutional action plans. So it's not one of the priorities. That's why we suggested, sorry, I might be taking a lot of time, but shall I continue the action plans or Okay, so for the action plans, we said that we believe that we should work at like 3 levels. The first level is awareness. The second level is education. And the third level is engagement. So we believed we need to get the support from the students and student affairs, because they really help you to push for including OERs in top priorities and in the institutional strategic plan. The institution would be enforced to listen to students and what do they ask for. It's also important to join networks or listservs or interest groups on OERs so that we can exchange ideas and resources. We can start by doing some surveys or questionnaires asking about OERs, if they know about it, because I feel like some confuse between OER and open access, so they think it might be the same thing. That's why we need webinars to raise awareness for the different stakeholders, faculty, students, and others. Some of us have already started started creating and sharing OER specific LibGuides, but also they need marketing because they will not go and check them by themselves. We talked about some invited workshops for faculty and administrators on how to start creating OER and teaching them. Also maybe helping faculty from similar disciplines to come together and collaborate. So it's okay if more than one faculty in the same discipline work on creating this OER, and definitely securing funds, whether from inside or outside the institution, to be able to apply, create, and incentivize all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ola, for that like very detailed reporting of what you've talked about. And I wish we have more time to kind of like synthesize what the conversations that happened in the different rooms. But you know, you all took notes, right? And we'll have all those notes shared, and hopefully in, you know, another forum when you all meet, we'll be able to kind of take a look at that and have some actions that can you know, come out of the discussions. So I just want to like continue on with the presentation. If you feel that you need to take a break, please do so. I will just be here talking. So, but if you need to do some stretch break, yeah, please feel free to do that. Let me see if my screen, okay, yeah.
Sorry, but just want to say something. Jeff gave me his turn, so maybe he wanted to say something. I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, it's okay. I don't want to, it's no problem. No worries.
Okay, so let's see where we are at. Okay, so we might not have the chance to kind of like collaboratively think about this because there's still a lot I want to talk about, but I looked at the AMICAL strategic focus areas. So, you know, I went to your website. I feel like I know your website now a lot because I looked at it before this presentation or when I was preparing for this. So you have all this strategic focus areas, and you know, really think that you can leverage your strength as a consortium to be able to support each other in your goal to you know, start or implement or support your faculty in OER initiatives. Let's see. So I was thinking maybe we can like identify some ways where AMICAL members or institutions can collaborate around open education. And a lot of you already have talked about that in your discussions. So, okay, so I work a lot with our consortium in Michigan, and fortunately, I am friends with their executive director. So we really were able to put OER as a strategic priority for the library consortium here in Michigan. So we just started becoming an institutional member of Open Education Network. So that will allow a lot of our community colleges who do not have funding for training, for creation of OER, to be able to utilize the buying power consortial discounts of you know, to have a consortial membership to this organization. So that is one thing. Also do like some shared funding, and I know this is like easier said than done, right? So shared funding so that you'd be able to support, you know, one faculty from each institution. Doesn't have to be creation, you know. A lot of this is really awareness, and I am glad that Ola's mentioned that, because awareness doesn't stop. You know, you cannot just stop with having just one session, because, you know, you continually have to reach each segment in your institution to educate them about the importance of this. So I hope, this is just some of the things that you might want to park into your, discussions as you think about how you can leverage consortial membership to advance your goals for open. Yeah. So I built in some space for us to take some deep breaths. Kind of have some water. If you need to go on a stretch break, feel free to do so. So did I take a breath? I didn't think I did. So let me do that. Okay. I really can go on like speaking for like 3 hours nonstop. So I really have to kind of like ground myself and like just, Regina, just stop. So really what I am going to be sharing next is the connections, right? I hear a lot of you talking about connection, engagement. How can we do that with our faculty and with our students? So I am going to talk to you about how we connect to our faculty and the different ways in which we can engage with them, not just with OER, but with other aspects of open. So this is like the part where, I will be talking about how can we serve as connectors to faculty. This is by far not an exhaustive list, right? Of all the things we do, right? All the things we help our faculty with when it comes to, an open education initiative in our campuses. This is by far not all that we do, right? But, some of them are it's a list. At the heart of it, I really just want to talk about some of the strategies that we can do. Like, we always position ourselves as being the expert, right? We are information professionals as librarians. But I really start, when I engage with faculty, I really start with a conversation. I don't even tell them about open yet. So when I meet with faculty, we start with a conversation. And I always start by asking questions. Because I really want to learn, how did you come to be a teacher? What brought you to this profession? What is your epistemological beliefs? What is your teaching philosophy? How is your classroom like? How do you get your students to engage with you and with each other? And what do you see are the challenges that your students face? So we start with that conversation. And these are some of the questions that I ask them. And then, as we progress with our discussion, I ask about things that pertain to their decisions when it comes to course materials. How do you make decisions about course materials? Is someone making that decision for you? Is there a committee that does that? Or are you free to assign whatever materials you want for your classes? What have you been using as course materials? Are you using a lot of what's available in the library? Are you using a lot of materials that leverages the library's institutional subscriptions to, journals, ebooks, and other library materials? And again, that's is it assigned or designated by a committee? And then I also share my own story. I tell them, how did I come to be in open education? What do I believe in? Why is it important? So these questions can translate not just with a one-on-one conversation with the faculty, but also in a conversation as a group, right? In departmental meetings, in whatever forum that you are invited to talk about this. Because sometimes they don't really make that connection between OER if you just like put it out there, right? Internally, they have to know what is this about. And maybe it's a realization that like, oh, I am already doing this. I just don't know how to call it. I didn't know that was a term, but I have been doing this for a long time. So, you know, it really starts with that. And these are just the grounding questions that you can start with as you engage with your faculty. And then ultimately I ask them, how can we work together? If you are not ready, that is fine. That is fine. You know, I don't really force it to them. They can come to the open at their own time, and they don't have to use OER. They can start with practices, and I can talk about that. You know, they can start with working more with their students so that their students have a hand or a way by which they can participate in the co-creation of knowledge within the classroom. So it doesn't have to be that they have to use OER or adopt an OER. There are many paths to open. And so you have to kind of respect that, that they come to the open in their own time. So this is the thing. When we talk to them or connect with them, I don't refer myself to what I do as just support. Yes, we support our faculty, but I really want to position it as us, whether you're an instructional designer or a librarian, we are partners. Yes, you are the subject expert. Ultimately, you'll be the one who will decide what and how you create those materials. But I, as the OER lead, will be your partner in this process. And so I will show you some of the titles that we already have published at MSU, and this is just one of them. And I am not putting this out there to glorify myself, but I am just like putting this out there because to illustrate that they really value the expertise, the partnership, the collaboration that me and my team have provided to them. This one is elementary Arabic, and it's created by Ayman Mohammed and Saddam Isa. You have to check this out. I'll give you a link. It has a lot of interactive components within this OER. So we created it out of Pressbooks, and we gave them training on how to use H5P, which allowed them to create all of this really, really good interactive materials that accompany this OER. Also, this basic Hindi one by Rajiv Ranjan. So this is really, so this one is part of his acknowledgements in his OER. And he also has a lot of interactive components in here. I'll give you the link to the titles that we have. For some reason, a lot of our foreign language faculty are into OER. It's like, Regina, we want to create OER. We want to, so yeah. So I am fortunate, and I know I have been talking from a point of privilege because we have the support, we have the financial support. I have a budget that I can use to help our faculty. So at MSU, I have $50,000 annual budget for faculty grants. So that is just for grants alone that we provide for our faculty. And I will show you the levels of grant that we have And then this is for reframing digital humanities as well. Let me look at the time. Okay. So I really love this. I really love this. And this is taken from 2 of our faculty who are teaching French 101 and 102. And we are adopting this as our frame. So I really love this. It says, they say we do not include social justice and or diversity activities in the curriculum. Instead, we base our curriculum on diversity and inclusion. So it's not something that's added on. It really is something that undergirds their project. And I really love that they are thinking about that in their work, from the examples that they fold into the work, from the images, the names of the people that they put in as examples, really speaks to the way they view these materials as decolonizing the curriculum. And that freedom is really what excites them, especially for an R1 institution. That freedom to do this for our students, the way publisher materials cannot address, is really one of the things that attracts them to OER. And this is, yeah, so I mentioned like this is their guiding principle. Cultural authenticity. So this is, like I mentioned, this is French 101, 102. And if you are, and you know, I wish that Matt and Anne are here, but they say like, yes, we are teaching French language, but we are decentering France from it because there's also a lot of countries that speak French, right? And so, you know, that's just one of their approach. Okay, how are you so far? I've not looked at the chat yet.
Hi, Regina. So let me jump in. We're chatting in the chat about the books you've been sharing. People are super excited about those. We found the links and have shared them with each other. Mahabali was commenting that she's really impressed by this idea of decolonizing teaching French. She's that's really exciting. And against native speakerism as well as colonial-centric language teaching. And it seems there's a lot of interest in the Arabic, the elementary Arabic OER textbook you've been sharing. I think that's the gist of what we've been chatting about. What you've been from your last breath to this one.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Alex and Maha. Thank you for pasting those links. So for the Arabic OER, there's also, they are working on, so that's like the basic, they are working on the intermediate Arabic right now. Not right now, but during the summer, because they will start. Yeah, so they will start, Saddam and Ayman are going to start teaching that in the fall. So, you know, there's like a sequence, right? So
this should make AMICAL so jealous. We have so many Arabic speaking institutions and we've always said we would do OER together. And honestly.
Yeah, you know, Ayman and Saddam, they when I talk to them, they got it because there's only 2 of them teaching that at MSU. And right now they really are excited about the possibility of using their work. And you have to look at it. It really is like, and a lot of the people that I have promoted this OER to really were so impressed by what they've done. So
there's a question in the chat about why you think foreign language teachers are the one using it the most. This is from Raghda, who teaches Arabic as a foreign language to teachers of Arabic as a foreign language.
Yeah, I really don't know. Because when I started at MSU, my first month, I met with the Dean of the Language and Linguistics Department, the Center for Language Teaching. I mean, they say they've been encouraging their faculty to do this. You know, and as you know, textbooks for foreign language learning is very expensive, right? And so more than the cost, they really are interested in changing the way language is taught on a college level. Because they see that, you know, there's a lot of things that are not really optimal with the textbooks that are out there in teaching foreign languages. And so that chance for them to do that really is appealing. And right now we are working, so we are working with the least commonly taught languages. So I have a project now. So I told you about the Arabic, the intermediate Arabic, that Simon and Saddam, and I just combined their name.
I made a couple name.
Yeah, I just combined their name. So they're working. We also have, like I mentioned, Hindi. So Rajiv is also working on Urdu. We have Swahili. We also have Chinese. And we are going, and I am getting ready to support faculty who are teaching Khmer. Khmer, I don't know if I'm saying it right. And also, let me see, I think it's Vietnamese. So yeah, so a lot of things on the foreign languages front that, of course, when we're all done with this, we are going to share widely to you all. Yeah, and so this is also the things that I've been doing with faculty and Maha. We did a lot based on, you know, equity and bound. So like I mentioned, one of the things that excites faculty too is the practice, the open practice. And so this, like last academic year, so fall 2020, I facilitated an open pedagogy, open educational practices learning community. So I really want to move from resources to practice, right? Because it's not enough. I do not stop with just having faculty use OER. I really want like transformation in the way they embrace open in whatever form that may be, right? And so, so we had all our faculty. I invited the faculty who are using or creating OER. So there's 15 of us in this learning community. We meet once a month, and for 1.5 hours, and together we learn about how to do this in the classroom. So these are just our community norms. We started with this. Really important to ground this work so that you have a shared value. So, you know, talk to them. We were gonna have difficult conversations, and we shouldn't shy away from that, from doing that. So these are the guiding questions that animated our discussions. So we met for 4 times every month in fall 2020 and 5 times in spring 2021 semester. We are going to do another round of this learning community in the coming academic year. So starting in fall 2021, and we are all going back on campus. So it kind of might change the dynamic because we are now going to have the opportunity to be together in one room versus, you know, doing it online. So these are just, you know, the guiding questions that undergirds this community. And we always keep that, you know, not at the back of our, but front of our discussions. So we use, we put our materials together in our institutional repository, which we call MSU Commons. And we use a lot of hypotheses because we do a lot of annotations. That one is like, oh, this is so exciting. You mean I can do this? Yes. And so, you know, we introduce them to a lot of stuff that they might not otherwise be familiar about. So this is just like a screenshot of MSU Commons. And then these are just examples of group activity that we have. So we designed the curriculum based on, you know, Open Pedagogy Notebook and, you know, yeah, so we have that. And then we collectively annotate websites or materials. So this is just an example. It's a closed group, so it doesn't have to be like, because when you do hypothesis, you have the option to make it public or private. So for us, you know, we made, and I think Maha, you participated in here. And so like, you know, we annotated all the views that were expressed in this website about what is open pedagogy. So my ask for the participant is that what resonates with you? You know, like for the folks who defined what is open pedagogy, what it, you know, who resonates with you the most. So we did that. Also used a lot of examples from openpedagogy.org. This is a new OER about, you know, open pedagogy approaches. We also use like, you know, one chapter in this. Equity Unbound, we had like, we had one meeting where we just focus on the activities that are here in Equity Unbound and how they can apply that to their their class. And as you know, Maha started it with Mia and Catherine. Yeah, so love these women. So we did Mad Tea. So we did that. We also did spiral journal exercise. We did also annotate the syllabus. Oh, they really enjoyed it and really had some of these activities piloted in their classes as well. And then we also utilized the S106 assignment bank for them to get some ideas about how they can incorporate learner-created assignments in their classes. Isn't it exciting? Let me take a look at the chat. What have you been talking about here? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I talked about connecting with faculty. Now we go about like connecting with students. I am looking at my time because I know 2 hours, right? It seems like long, but it really isn't. So it's like, okay, so how do we connect with our students? So these are our students at MSU. They are part of the Associated Student Government. So, you know, took this picture, I think early this year. And this is the building that they have offices. And I am so fortunate that the student government is behind me in supporting me, you know, in this work. And that really makes a lot of difference. So I have an OER, I formed an OER advisory committee, so I chair that. We have 3 faculty in that committee. We have instructional designers from our teaching and learning hub. We have 2 representatives from our student government who is in that committee, and also representative from IT. So Aaron just wrote me a letter, an email. I was just like, Regina, I really want to help you with OER advocacy. So we work to pass a resolution. So they passed a bill that advocated for the use and expansion of OER in MSU undergraduate courses. See, so there's 4 pages of this one. And look at their resolve clause. Advocate for the use of OER. So this one I suggested, so I work with them to the language. So I put when pedagogically appropriate, because we don't want to, have that impression that we are forcing faculty to do this. They also did host Open Education Week, which is a global celebration usually held in March of every year. So this year they took a lead in programming. So they said we have $1,500 that we can use to help you with this. And so I said, well, just use that for, programming. So, we planned a panel of faculty and the students moderated it. And they also awarded an OER Leadership Award to faculty who are using OER. Faculty were so excited to be able to get this from our students. And OER is now part of their strategic initiative, our student government. And they bought swags. So they designed the logo for OER, and they also, bought notebooks and pens and stickers, and we distributed it across campus. So this is Quentin, who is their VP for marketing and communications. And then we distributed it to our students. So this is the library, it's empty because we have like a limit as to the number of students coming in, but yeah. So, this is just, this is just one of the strategies that you can use to, engage with your students, get to know them and make it fun. Really, students are really so happy to be able to help because this initiative benefits them. They are the main recipients of this initiative. So they are more than happy to help advocate among their, their peers and certainly with faculty. I know I won't have enough time to share with you voices of our students. So these are just some of the things they tell us. We conduct an OER feedback survey every semester. And because I am partnering with our institutional data assessment, we are able to hone in on who are the students taking this course. Because we want to demonstrate that it really impacts those students who are underserved. And a lot of this is, of course, the barriers that are brought about by high textbook costs. So they give us a lot of their feedback, not just with the materials that they are taking, but also how it impacts their life, their academic life at MSU. And this I think Shima has shared with you our catalog. So it will increase because we are actively working on a few projects that we are going to launch soon. But for now, this is the materials that we have, and those are all licensed in the most open as possible. So feel free to modify, use them as is. If you need more instructor resources, just let me know, and I will, I will connect you with our faculty authors. So these are just some of the services. So we offer a wrap-around service across our OER program. And this is refreshing for me because in my previous life, in my previous job, I wear gazillions, like many hats, as I'm sure you all are. So I was head of technical services and systems in my previous job, and I was also leading our OER initiative. I realized that even if I am full of energy, I am passionate about what I do, there's always, there is a limit. And at the end, it wasn't sustainable because there wasn't any support for a dedicated position that will do this, because this is a lot of work. And so when I came to MSU, they created this new position, and really, I really promise that they will support me, not just financially to help our faculty, but investment too, with a team that will work with me so that we can fully support our faculty. So we have in my team, we do accessibility, we help our faculty, do accessibility work. Materials that we produce conforms to accessibility standards. We also have a full-time copy editor to help our faculty as they, do the work. We also have a publishing assistant that helps them with, doing it in press books. We have student employees who help design the covers for their OER. So, and of course, there's me. So really fortunate that we are able to do this for our faculty. And I know it is a challenge because not everyone would have, or not every institution will have that capacity to do it, but it can be done. It can be done. But the thing is, really, I'd like to stress the importance of supporting not just the faculty, but the people who are doing this work, because this is not, while the materials are free, these are not free to produce, right? There's cost involved with this. And so it is important that institutions recognize that they need to make investments in order to move this initiative forward. This is just our website. This is the LibGuide. Someone mentioned about, creating a LibGuide. One of the things that maybe you all can do is to have a collaborative LibGuide that would address all of the things that you need faculty to learn about open. And this is the OER award program that I have for faculty. So we have 5 levels of OER support that we provide our faculty. So creation of OER is $4,000. And scaling up, that's a new category that I introduced last academic year. This is for courses where all sections will adopt an OER. So this is important. I always track these metrics because you would want to demonstrate that, yes, we are impacting this many students. And I'm not really stressing a lot or giving a lot of importance with the cost savings, but I find that administrators really want to hear about that. So, that's why I track that too. So yeah, so let's stop for now. We are almost like 10 minutes before the end of this presentation. I have a lot of things that I want to share, but just want to stop now. You will have a chance to take a look at my slide deck. I'll share that with you. But for now, I just want to, like, hear about what are you feeling so far. Are you inspired? Are you like, there's a lot of questions probably on your mind about how to do this. But I really would just go back to that spaghetti thing. Doesn't have to be this like straight up alignment to the goals, to the objectives. I mean, just you can just throw the past out there on the wall and see if they stick. Yeah, so I really want to hear from you. Let me see what the chat is.
Thank you, Regina, for that this amazing session and all of the amazing work that you've been doing. Evie noted in the chat that she's really inspired, and Noor was impressed by the OER grants for faculty, which I read while we were sort of talking about bringing you to AMICAL, and I thought that was a really great idea as well. That seemed really interesting. So let's open up the floor for questions. If folks want to maybe type it in the chat or just unmute themselves and talk,